I bought this lathe and its accessories in 2007 from a friend for 650 bucks. It had been sitting idle for at least 20 years at that time. It's the 3996 model. It's a 12-inch lathe and 36-inch bed, I guess. Has a quick change gearbox, which is a major nice feature. It has this really nice cabinet here, and it's the underdrive type of machine, which is nice. And it came with a whole bunch of accessories for that price. It came with a simple quick change tool post, and again it has a quick change gearbox, which is a big deal. But it has a quick change tool post here, which is handy. It also came with a lantern tool post. It came with a steady rest and a follow rest. It came with this kind of cheap looking 6-inch 3-jaw chuck and an 8-inch 4-jaw chuck and a whole bunch of other accessories, even a number 2 Morse taper 3-jaw chuck. Pretty good size number 2 Morse taper tailstock chuck, a couple other chucks, bunch of tool holders, and a shop made, what do they call that, a cat's jaw chuck. Later on, I bought a turret for it, a tailstock turret. In fact, I think I might have even bought that turret before I bought the lathe, and thinking that it was a 10-inch, but it indeed is for a 12-inch. It has a micrometer carriage stop. Oh, and it even came with a manual, which is someplace around here. I probably put it away so it doesn't get dirty sitting here. So it's pretty well tooled. But when I got it, it had several issues. It needed new spindle drive belts, so I added the sectional belts, which I've used on a number of other things here. The ones that were on there were so bad they were, twisting around in the shivs. Anyway, there was that issue. There was a lot of play in the spindle itself, so that was a fairly lengthy adjustment procedure. This chuck didn't move at all when I got it. I mean, you couldn't rotate it at all. So I did some serious cleaning on it, and even after doing serious cleaning and so on, it still has a fair amount of run out. I was thinking maybe something like 6 thousandths or so. So I guess I wouldn't consider that all that great. The chuck wrenches that came with it were in poor shape. There were 20 years worth of grime and what have you. On the good side though, there's not hardly any wear at all on the ways. And of course it came with the stock Atlas tailstock. And as I said already, plenty of things to put in it. And it also had a lantern tool post with it. So anyway, that's the lathe. It's sitting actually on one edge of my wood shop because I didn't have room in the machine shop for it. And really, it's ready to go pretty much, as long as I can deal with this run out by shimming or whatever is needed. But I really have hardly used it for anything so far. What's a lathe video without at least doing a little bit of turning? So I'll just put a piece of, what is this, 2-inch, 1 3/4, probably 1 3/4 stock in here. Again, this was one of the least expensive chucks, I think, that Atlas offered at the time. I don't know, that's almost better. But anyway, that's what it's doing right now. At least it goes around. Let's see what it does when it comes up to the brand new material. But I suppose you can hear it kind of growling in the gears there. Okay, well, I guess that's that's it for now. So I need to check the runout of the 3-jaw chuck on my lathe. And it occurred to me that I ought to have something that I know is really round before I go blaming runout on the chuck or the spindle or something, where the problem really is that I didn't start with round stock. So here I'm just going to do a little bit of a test with these 3 pieces of stock here. This is a 1-inch diameter piece of ground stock. This is a 1 3/8 inch diameter piece of a cold rolled stock. I don't think it was ground. And here is a piece of 2 3/8 diameter round stock that is cold rolled, but I don't think ground. Okay, so we will do this test to see if the stock is round by simply putting the stuff, starting with the 1-inch bar. We'll just put this on a V block and roughly zero the dial indicator here and rotate it and see what happens. Now we'll try the 1 3/8 diameter stock. Okay, here's the 1 3/8 diameter stock. And that is round within maybe 2/10 of a thousandth. And along the length, it isn't all that hot. But at least at this point, it's round within a couple tenths. I'm going to go back and try the 1-inch stock again. I found a couple of little bits of something on the V block here. Yeah, that was an issue. Now I'm within a half a thousandth, maybe 4/10. Now we'll go for the piece of 2 3/8 round. Okay. Oops, that's my fault. Let's start that again. Okay, starting with the 2 3/8. I don't know why that's doing that. Well, it's within a half a thou. Let's try that again. Trying with the 2 3/8. Appears to be right on. Maybe a tenth or two. Anyway, there. So at least I think I can use these in the chuck that I'm going to test for runout and have some reasonable idea of how much of that runout is the chuck and not my test pieces. Now that I have 3 test pieces that are pretty much round, I can recheck this chuck's runout. When I checked it a while back, I found that the runout was as bad as maybe 10 or 12 thousandths, and then I discovered that I had the jaws not in the right place, and I moved the jaws into the correct places, 1 in the 1 slot, 2 in the 2 slot, 3 in the 3 slot, and so on, and then it seemed that the runout got better. But then I realized that I'd better make sure I had round work pieces to begin with. So as you just saw, I just tested them to make sure that these 3 pieces are quite round. So now we can get on with checking the actual runout. This is the setup for today. This is a 1/1000th resolution dial indicator, and we'll be using this to test the runout of this particular 3-jaw chuck. Now we'll check the runout of the 1-inch bar. This chuck only has 1 key screw to it. As you can see, it's the least expensive chuck that you could get with an Atlas lathe at the time. Here we go, we're pretty much 0. Five one direction, 1 1/2 the other. 4 one direction, 1 1/2 the other. So it looks like about 5 1/2 thousandths of runout with this bar. Notice how small this chuck key is. It's only, what, 1/4 inch? This is the 1 3/8 inch bar. Zero that up, okay. And here we go. Okay, let's say minus an inch, minus 1 1/4, plus 2, minus, let's call it 1 1/2, plus 1 1/2. So that looks like about 3/1000 total run out with that chuck. So that looks like about 3/1000 total run out with the 1 3/8 inch diameter test piece. Now we'll go for the 2 3/8 inch diameter test piece. All right. Oh my. Wow. Like minus 8 1/2. Plus 3. Minus 8 1/2 plus 3. Wow. Just for grins, I'm gonna shift this around a little bit. Shouldn't be any different, should it? Okay. Yeah, a little bit. 9 1/2. Well, I'd say that's a pretty well worn out chuck. Well, I guess I'd have to say that that's a pretty well worn out chuck. I guess that chuck is only good for work that can be, where all the operations can be done in situ, as they say, or where the dimensions really aren't very critical at all. You know, it appears that in the area of maybe 1 1/4 to 2 inches, it has the least run out. 1 inch it isn't very good, and at 2 3/4 inches it's really pretty terrible too. So maybe what I really ought to do is throw it away. I suppose I can shim the jaws each time I use the chuck if more precision is needed, but I can probably center things in the 4-jaw chuck just about as fast. And of course I can switch to collets where the work is short or has a diameter less than the 3/4 inch bore of the spindle if it's long work.